Now, looking at the history of slavery, you had these slave rebellions happening. And the slave rebellions was a result of them learning their true identity. First, it started with Gabriel Prosser. His slave rebellion was in 1899, 1799, Salakia, or 1800, where he had uh, a bunch of slaves following him, and they all got caught. But he was telling them about their identity. Then you had in 1930, you had Nat Turner, David Walker's appeal to the Negro, and you had James Pennington, the preacher, and all of them was trying to get the information to their people that they went back to the west coast of Africa. In the west coast of Africa, it was a colony of Jews there. And so Nat Turner was a so-called preacher, and he could read. He learned how to read, and he was telling his people who they were, and pretty much he had some kind of sign that he thought was a sign, that which could have been a sign, and the Lord just didn't want him to prosper in what he was doing, even though he was dealing with the truth of his identity. But he started a firestorm and caused David Walker to write this appeal to the Negro. And as soon as he did that, that's when the government of the United States started to amp up their literacy laws. Now let me get that history. Let's see here. Did I delete it? Oh, here it is. Now it says literacy threatens justification of slavery. States fighting to hold on to slavery began tightening literacy laws in the early 1830s. In April of 1831, Virginia declared that any meetings to teach free slaves to read or write was illegal. Okay, now they'll tell you what happened when you go into it. It tells you right there where it say Nat Turner. It says anti-literacy laws also arose from fears of slave insurrection, particularly around the time of abolitionist David Walker's 1829 publication of the Appeal to the Colored Citizens of the World, which openly advocated rebellion, and Nat Turner's slave rebellion of 1831. See, all this happened at the same time. Then you go down and you look at the dates on these literacy laws. Georgia, 1829. Alabama and Virginia, 1832. And look at the punishment. Teaching black slaves to read, punished by fine and imprisonment, 1832. It says prohibited whites from teaching blacks to read or write, punishment by fines and floggings. See, they was gonna flog the whites and fine them behind. If you telling these Negroes to read and letting them read, because it wasn't the main book that was in circulation was the Bible. 1833, Georgia. stepped it up again. Missouri, same thing. They couldn't even get together. That's why he said when two or three are in, uh, 2 and 3 are gathered together in my name, I will be there. Because they understood that, and they said, don't let them assemble together and don't let them read. If we can eliminate that, we can keep them from learning their identity. So this is what was going on, and that's why you got on these people's social medias misinformation. See, that's another way of anti-literacy law. That's the new anti-literacy law. Misinformation. See, don't listen to what these people saying, and if you put this misinformation on our social media or in our society, we gonna delete it, remove it, do whatever we got to do to get it off of there. You see, you can even be quoting what we saying, but we don't want you. It's gonna be misinformation. It's gonna be a conspiracy theory if you coming with the truth. We don't want the truth to be told to these Negroes that's in captivity to us. You see, this is the reason. And then you had later on you had Singleton Paps. Benjamin Pap Singleton. He had the Exodusters. Let's see if I can go into this real quick. Singleton Paps Benjamin. I don't got the man name backwards. Let's see what they give me. Okay. It says was an American activist, businessman. Okay, let's get to it. There it is. It says 1862. Blacks will never achieve economic equality in the white dominant South. After the end of Reconstruction, Singleton organized a movement of thousands of black colonists known as Exodusters. Well, who was in the Exodus? The Israelites. To found settlements in the free state of Kansas. Now, also, this situation with the Exodusters, they took him to the Congress. He was invited to the Congress. They were trying to figure out what he was saying because he said he was saying Exodusters. And we don't know if they took those laws off the books. But I guess they not finna address the situation, so it's just this is what was going on before slave so-called Emancipation Proclamation. Now you got who else do we have? So you had preachers in the 1830s writing books. The James Pennington, he moved to New York City from Maryland, and he started writing a book telling the people they come from the west coast of Africa. Let's get that. I got that on my Here we go. He said the Portuguese who planted themselves on the coast of Africa a few centuries ago had been succeeded by descendants blacker than the African. A strong case still is to be found in the fact that the descendants of a colony of Jews originally from Judea to the coast of Africa are black. You see, this is what Pennington was writing about. But see, you got these Christianity peoples pushing the propaganda of these slave masters. And so this is what we're dealing with. But that's the history pretty much. I'm gonna leave it there. You got Gabriel Prosser, that's 1800. Nat Turner, 1830. David Walker, 1830. Benjamin Paps, 1860 something. But 1879, I think he was when they made their trip. And then James Pennington was the preacher uh, that wrote his book in 1849. And I told his story. So these peoples was in captivity and they was fighting to bring the information out who they was descendant from and who their ancestors was. But you had literacy laws and you had the Congress, the government of the United States of America, trying to hide it under the leadership of the peoples in 1776. Now, another note, I'm thinking Gabriel Prosser was born in 1776 when these so-called Jewish Germans was up there making their secret societies and starting uh, to make plans to pretty much start them their own country over here, and pretty much let this be the hub of enslaving the children of Israel. And so this is uh, these individuals was trying to start this thing. Now, when the literacy laws came out, you had also the Bible was being revived. Thinking 1840 or maybe even the 1830s, the Bible was being revived by this guy Westcott and Hort. They was being revived, and they had a connection to the German Jewish peoples. So all of this stuff is in record, man, and you can see how it was going down. Just like now, the information coming out strong, and they got the misinformation, they medical information, they got everything that they try to silence you and kick you off of social media like they did Trump and Farrakhan, and like they did this other Muslim guy. They will kick you off of their social sites and they won't let you bring out the information. But see, let's get Daniel before I close out. The prophet Daniel. 12 and 9. It says, and he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. See, the time of the end, these words would be open. They would be open and they would reveal who the children of Israel was. Let's get that in Second Esdras. Second Esdras said the same thing. It said, verse 20, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then when I show these tokens, the books shall be open before the firmament, and they all shall see together. That's the internet. That's the internet in any other kind of way that these books is being opened and revealed to the children of Israel in the time of the end when everything finna go down. So the great revealing is happening because the books have been opened. And back even in, this is why I'm doing this, because even in slavery, the books was open. But we had a sentence of 350 years. Let's get that real quick. 11 and 11, it say, after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. So 3 days and a half had to go by. 3 days and a half, that's 300 years, 350 years, that had to go by until the spirit came and the books really was starting to be open. You see, but even when the books start to be open after the 350 years, around about 1969, it still wasn't gonna be all the way open until the what we all could see until the time of the end. See, some of us saw. You see, some of the Israelites saw, just like in slavery. Some of them saw, and that's when the books was open. But not all can see, because the firmament is the internet. That's what you're talking about. What you say, the airwaves. The firmament meant this in the sky. You got the airwaves and the satellites and the towers, cell phone, internet towers that's going all around the world, and letting the words come out, the truth of this word. And so this is what's happening uh, pretty much all over. And this is the plan of the Most High. He planned for this thing to go down. See if I can squeeze in Psalm 19, verse 4. It say their online services, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. You see, this is how the situation was going to come to pass. It's all in prophecy, and we looking at it live and in person. But I'm going to leave it there. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Yakakadash, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being the name of his only begotten Son, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect, the blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, descendants of slaves scattered around the globe. Our kingdom is at hand. Shalom.